you know how they say that, the man should be, or pretty much the woman should do the cleaning, should do the cooking, should do this and so forth. And then I just imagine, like, I have a daughter, and a guy expects that from, like, let's say my daughter. I don't have a daughter. I'm like, who is this guy to be able to expect all these things? And so I feel like you have to become the person to be able to demand those standards.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Driven. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing about having standards for yourself. And by that, I mean having standards in all aspects of your life, whether it be relationship-wise, whether it be, career-wise. Don't let yourself get belittled, or don't let yourself get pushed over, ran over, mowed over, how they say. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why we're discussing it is because I know, like, I think since a year, 2 years ago, certain figures started popping up, like Andrew Tate.
Yep.
In Spanish, I watched a guy named Tamach, having standards for yourself. And I know we were talking and we got into the discussion. And I did mention that I think it's true. I do believe it, that you should have standards for yourself, especially like in relationships. Mm-hmm. Like if you have an abusive partner, both psychologically or, physically, then, just leave.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you're going to, like, it's okay if you stay by yourself. Mm-hmm. But, get away from that. Or career-wise, if you have a job that you don't like, that, maybe you have a manager, you have coworkers that are degrading you, that don't respect you, just, go ahead and leave. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean about having standards for yourself. Mm-hmm. And I know with that, you also, like, I know we were discussing it. I know you had something else about not only should you have standards for yourself, but I know you mentioned something else.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things that I have thought about, especially since my son was born like a while ago. Not like a while ago, but since he was born, I've thought about a lot of things, like, more deeply. And I've kind of evolved in some of my thoughts. And how do you say it? Yeah, I guess ideas, thoughts. I've evolved in some of them, a bit of them, quite actually. And one of them is, I definitely agree with that statement that everyone should have standards. And then also seeing some of the stuff, like, and that's one of the things I agree with, a lot of the stuff that, like, the Andrew Tate and, the even Tamach, even though, like, there's only a few clips that I've seen. So I really haven't, okay, I won't talk about him, but, like, Andrew Tate, these other figures, Jay Waller, the white guy that is, like, that has a construction company.
I think so.
I agree with a lot of stuff that they say, and but I would also add to that I feel like you have to become the person that merits that type of, like, those standards. Mm-hmm. Because I thought about it, like, how they say that, the man should be, or pretty much the woman should do the cleaning, should do the cooking, should do this and so forth. And then I just imagine, like, I have a daughter, and a guy expects that from, like, let's say my daughter. I don't have a daughter. But let's say that was the case. I'm like, who is this guy to be able to expect all these things? And so I feel like you have to become the person to be able to demand those standards. Mm-hmm. You can't just be like, just because I'm a man, I need my woman to do this and so forth. Like, I need her to. No, like, you become the person that merits that. You don't even have, like, you become the person to where, like, your girl or your wife, they just do it because, it just. That's how she sees it. Like, wow, this guy is, like, really good. Like, let me do all these things for him because he is really, like, just overall great. I don't know how to say it. And so you become that individual that merits that merits that.
Yeah. And so how would that look like? Because I know, like, you're saying that become the individual that merits that. How would that look like in the guy perspective? Like you mentioned, you wouldn't want if you had a daughter.
Yeah.
You looking at that, you wouldn't want just some guy,
right,
to exigir, to demand that.
Right.
So how would that look like with the guy?
Well, first of all, like, for the guy, I think the purpose, well, not the purpose, but I think what most women want, and I think what most fathers will want from, like, a son-in-law is to be able to provide. Mm-hmm. I think that's the most important thing. Now, that's not the only thing, but that's, I think, the most important. And even if you can't provide at that moment, you look like, or at least you have that ambition or that kind of will to be able to move things forward to where, like, in the future you're able to do that. So you're moving forward and not just, staying there. And so I think that's the most important thing. But then on top of that, I think treating the other individual, I don't know how to say it, not nice. I don't know if that's the right word, but treating the other person with like respect, with like just and with care. Also not like not being an asshole.
Yep.
To that or the other individual, and also like, and that's the thing. Every person has their different needs, and so like attending to the needs of the other person. Like, because I just put myself in like a position of I had a daughter, I want like, obviously I would have tell my daughter like you had to be the right wife per se. But at the same time, like I would want like her partner to be able to provide for her, treat her nice, meet her needs, because like there's different people with different needs. Some people just different needs, right? And I think that's those are the main things. Obviously they have love for each other and whatnot, but I think those are the main things, because I think once that is covered, at least the main things are covered, because I think there's little nuances here and there that but that's just the small things. But I think the overall is that for that man to be able to do those things, at least in the relationship, and so you become the individual. But even also like in the work area, like you don't just demand more pay because let's say you've been there for a long time, or because you just do the work. You don't demand those things. You become the individual that deserves the more pay. Like right here, we've had some workers that they just they deserve the more pay, so like they don't even have to ask. We just give them the more pay because they are the ones to merit that extra pay. So it could even be at work, choosing with the job, and you've seen like only like the top players can be choosy with the jobs that they have. It's not like I'm just starting out and I can be choosy to what job I have. You kind of just take what you get. Like you just graduated from like say high school or college. A lot of people are saying, "Fuck, let me work at Starbucks first. Let me work at Starbucks first, and then like get my experience, and then keep moving on." So like you can be choosy or have like a standards or you can, but not to the extent that you probably want to.
And you're gonna have to deliver.
Yeah. Yep.
Cause like, and I think that's one of the things that you can demand it, but you actually have to deliver. You kind of put your money where your mouth is. Because I know, that's going off topic, but you were saying? Yeah,
so like so it really comes down to being the person that merits those standards, because I don't want to say it, but just nobody can just have standards. Like, and it's also like, and I feel like in the real life, like you can it's not gonna happen, like with relationships. Like I feel like if you just there, like not
putting your side of the work, no?
Yeah, you like, no one's gonna like take you seriously. Like no relationship's gonna take like, fuck, like you want me to do all this and you're not, and you're just that. Like I mean, it can. That's one of the things that I mean, it can, but it's how long is that gonna last, and where's it gonna go?
A lot of the stuff that Andrew Tate and like the other guy you mentioned, I think it's a good message, because it does it motivates young men to start developing themselves, to start growing. But I know you also mentioned that it also hits them maybe a little bit too early.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people that hear those messages haven't had a lot of life experience, and so when they hear like the woman should be doing this, this, and this, and this, so they hear that, and that's what they expect, without them doing the effort to be able to become that man that deserves that. And so I feel like they hear that message a little too young. They understand what the superficial like things that they say, but they don't like understand that there's things that still need to be like happen. You need to become, you need to be able to at least have the ability to provide for someone. You need to become, and then on top of that, other things that are needed. And so I feel like that the message does get to the audience too early, and so that's why there's I don't know if it's true or not, but like in the news, like like men are becoming misogynist because if they listen to that, men are thinking this way, which I think like I don't know if that is the case, but I do think like it's getting to the audience a little bit too early.
Especially putting myself in those shoes, like 18-year-old, 17-year-old Alexis, I'm very impressionable. I have not much going for myself. Maybe I don't have the drive I had now, and so like demanding that, and then looking at myself like if I had a daughter too, it's like, man, like this guy, he's playing video games most of the time. He's not going to work. He decided to take a year off from from school, from work. He just wants to chill, enjoy his 20s. And I look at myself and like, yeah, I do agree, looking at it through that perspective. Like, and then this guy's watching Andrew Tate, or like, which I think is good, because it'll help. The net positive will help. But at that moment, deciding, okay, like, women should be like, if I'm in a relationship, like, you should do my laundry, you should cook for me, you gotta cater to all my needs. I'm like, and it goes back to what you said, like, do you actually deserve it? Are you actually are you delivering? Are you putting your money where your mouth is, to actually be able to demand those things?
Yeah. And that is something that I think everyone should understand, that you have to be that individual that, that deserves that deserves that overall.
For both men and women, no?
Yeah, for both men and women. And the same thing for women, like, you want, and then that's one of the things that I had to, like, backtrack. Like, I don't, like, roles, like, you could do whatever you want. Like, I'm not saying that men should be the sole providers and women should, just stay at home, take care of kids. I'm not saying that should be the case, because I know everyone is different. Like, and whatever you do, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna get involved. It's just like, so kind of like, do what you want. And I don't want to say it in a bad way, and so, like, I know with some of the things that I said, that's my ideal, and that's how, like, I prefer things. You could have different ones, but I think the overarching theme is, be the individual that deserves or that merits having those standards. Yeah. So be that individual. Yep. But I guess I'll just talk back about my my own personal opinion and beliefs. Which can you refresh me or remind me?
Personal beliefs that they should become the standards for themselves, both men and women, and doesn't mean that they need to have specific roles, but just in general.
Yeah, and so whatever it is that that you want, or that you, I guess with whatever standards that you do have, be that person that and I know it's repetitive, but that deserves those standards. Yeah. Because like you said, and with women too, like, for the women that want that, like, if you want someone that, let's say, wants a provider, wants to be taken care of, wants to be treated nice, that whoever it is, female or like even male, who doesn't matter, like, they need, I feel like they need to become that person that deserves that. Yep. Like, you can't just be like whatever, free willy-nilly through your life, and then once you get to I'm kind of tired of all these things, let me find a guy who's like the difference, who's at least 6 foot tall. Yep.
6 figures.
Huh?
6 figures.
6 figures. And that'll treat me nice. Yeah. And that's around my age. Like, I think that's that's a stretch. And okay, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just like, not a lot of guys of that caliber are gonna they're gonna want someone that's very different, let's just say. Yeah. They're gonna want different. And so like those, and so you have to become that individual. Same thing with men. You want someone that is able to clean, cook, and do all these things. You need to become that man. Yep. In order to deserve that. Yep. And so, and that's just with, like, I think relationships, and I don't think we want to sound like Andrew Tate or anything. I think that's just our own thoughts. Like, it's not emulating them or anything, but I think that's some of the things that I've personally lived through and I believe. Yep. And then also in the work, like in business, like, you can't just have all these expectations. You can't expect your business or people to just buy your stuff just because you're selling stuff. Yep. Like, your products need to be good enough to deserve that. Yep. I think it's just and I guess that was just me going back to like, like, become those things that deserve the having of the standards.
Yeah, and I think by default, like, by you becoming the standard yourself, I think everything else will follow. Like, you're gonna attract what you actually want. Going back to relationships, you become that standard. It's gonna sound very bad, but you get to actually choose. Yeah,
and that's true. Like, I think it is what it is, because like you see like the top, or like the top, and it's not just an income. I think there's other qualities too, but like the top, top people, like let's say the actors, like Leonardo DiCaprio, like they get to choose. Like they get to choose whoever they want.
Yup. Yeah. Also, tying it back to business, like how you mentioned, you have the best service, the best product out there. You get to choose your customers. You get to choose the price points. You get to choose pretty much a lot of things. But like how you mentioned, you have to become the standards. Also, down the line with your friends and families, your kids, you have to become the example. Because especially in sales, I remember that I always used to hate it that where, people said, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, but they themselves never did it.
Right.
And so I'm like, dude, like, you're telling me to do all this, but you're not even doing it like yourself. And I know like it applies the same thing, with kids, become the example and your kids will follow.
I agree. And then once you're like, let's say once you're at that point that you do, married, certain things, or you're able to have standards, actually like, using those standards, or I don't know how to say it, like having those standards, like actually like, I think the first overarching theme, like use those standards, like, don't settle. Once you're able to, when you have those, like at work, once you're able to have good jobs, don't just settle at a job, or or pay if you deserve more. But then that's also, I guess, to not misinterpret things, like doesn't mean like you're in a relationship and like like you feel like you've gotten bigger or whatnot. Doesn't mean like, okay, don't settle. Obviously you have to work things through, but in the overarching theme, like don't settle. And I guess that's that's not meant to say break up and then go for something else. Like that's not also what I meant either.
Actually, like just have standards for yourself. But I think the second part to like, once you have standards for yourself, once you're like not gonna let yourself get belittled in a relationship, work wise or anything. But I think the second part that needs to follow is actually become the standard. But at least on my end, that was pretty much it. I don't know if you have anything final thoughts.
No, that was pretty much it. And then I know, like, to me, there's a lot of things that I've thought, and I think point of views change, especially when you have kids, like, and that's something that I thought about. I'm like, there's some things that change, at least from my point of view. And so once I just thought of things, or thought things more through in depth, and at least that's how I personally feel, and I feel like I'm not gonna say it's there, but so those are some of like my personal thoughts that really just that I believe in, or that I think they could change. That's the thing, they could change. Like I haven't changed, I've evolved, better said.
Because I remember this topic also used to, like the public figures used to also be pretty big back in the day when I was pretty young. The MGTOW movement.
Oh, MGTOW.
MGTOW. Because I remember it too, that I don't know if I told you, but that I always said that I'm not going to get married. Why do I need to get married? But I got married. Right. And like how you mentioned, like you do evolve. And I think like, just from what you said, that I do remember, and I do think, I agree that, sometimes it does hit a little bit too early for people. Cause like I was impressionable, like the MGTOW movement, like, like all these women, like you get married, they divorce you, they take half your stuff. Like, why do you need a woman? Why do you need to get married? And, I remember for the longest I was like in that mentality. But it just changed. I don't know. It just changed.
No, definitely. And that's one of the things that like, I think people evolve in different ways to best benefit their own life. And so like, just because I evolved this way doesn't mean that is the correct way for everybody. It's just probably the correct way for me, and the same thing for you, and the same thing for other. Because I think other people, like, say like they're I think they're married and they're like, I'm never getting married again. So they went the opposite way. So like not one shoe fits all.
No, it's just gathering all the information and making your own conclusions, making your own decision.
Based on what's most beneficial.
And no one could tell you you're right or wrong. Because it really is your life, and no one else is going to have control over your life. And not to get sidetracked, but it's just more than anything, going back to the topic, have standards for yourself and become the standard.
Become the standard, become one that definitely deserves that standard, or having standards, because I feel like not everyone does. Not everyone does. And But then that's, even if someone doesn't yet, that should be motivation to get to the point where they can have standards.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
that should be motivation.
Yep.
Because everyone can. That's one of the things that I know it sounds cliche, and I know it sounds like, not goody two shoes, but like, just feel good, that everyone can get to that point. But yeah, but I digress. And so at least on that topic, I don't think I have anything else. I don't know if you have anything else.
No.
Yeah, and then that's pretty much, and these are all personal opinions, and actually.
Yeah.
So like, you could take them for what it is, with a grain of salt. Someone else's life could be very different and can have very point of views, and that's one of the things. I think we're always open to different points of views.
Yeah.
This just happens to be mine, and that just happens to be yours. And so if you have different viewpoints, please make sure to leave it down in the comments below, because we definitely would want to hear other viewpoints. That's something that we definitely we're very open to. But with that being said, this has been another episode of Driven. My name is Juan.
My name is Alexis.
And we'll see you on the next one.